Hi there, my name is Cupicate, and welcome back to Wolf Talk with Cupi. It is Wednesday when we would normally be watching a Teo episode, but Teo's first litter is done, and I'm working behind the scenes to set up for his second litter, which is starting Wednesday next week. I'm really excited about that. I can only hope that I got the art done as I am recording this 2 weeks ahead of time. Yay! Also, hopefully, if I got the art done, Mikhail will be starting on Saturday. Hopefully. If not, I have a backup plan. You will know exactly whether I got the art done or not if you see Mikhail on Saturday. If you see Seraph on Saturday, you'll know I didn't get the art done. But at least there's a backup plan in place. It's always nice to have those, guys. When you make plans in life, have a plan A, B, and C, because guaranteed you're going to end up on plan Z at some point. So just make sure you've got something, because you never know. I'm definitely learning a lot by having this channel, that like prioritizing time and tasks is important. I'm already bad at it because I'm pretty sure I have ADHD. I'm hoping to find that out soon. I did get a psychiatrist to figure out if I do actually have ADHD, because I don't want to self-diagnose. It's not good to self-diagnose. It's better to get a professional's opinion. And so I am actively seeking that. Wish me luck. I'm pretty sure I have ADHD though. I'm going to be shocked if I don't. I really am. But making a list of things to do, prioritizing tasks, doing time management, those are three things I am horrible at. It's amazing that this channel is running as smoothly as it is. And that's only because you're seeing the smooth part. Some days I'm like, ah! But it's okay. If everything in life was easy, then it wouldn't be fun. Sometimes you got to struggle through it. And how else do you build character if everything's easy? So, anyways, enough about me. Let's get to Wolf Talks. So, I just got done recording the last Wolf Talk and I had a bit of a panic moment. I was like, oh no, I didn't mention that the other pups from the Dawn and Aurora litters are not lost in the wind. Please don't worry. In fact, many of those pups are going to play pivotal parts in our story or are going to take places as pivotal roles. And so even though, yes, I probably will pick and choose a few pups that may disperse and just abandon the pack altogether, because that would happen, actually. I mean, that's essentially what happens with wolves when they disperse. They're like, I'm leaving my own pack because I want to create my own pack. That's pretty normal. So not every pup will appear in the Snagglefang pack. They may go off and do their own thing. It will get to where maybe they come back together because of Teo's teachings, or maybe some of his children have gone out and taught the ways, and so they could come back. But I will probably choose, it'll probably be pups that maybe didn't stick out to us as much. They didn't have as big of a personality. Or if we do a voting situation, the pups that may have the least votes, those might be the ones, because we didn't think they were as important. They may go off and do their own thing. Not to say that they aren't important. It's just we have our favorites. It's the way it is, unfortunately. But sometimes they just don't stick out. Honestly, Aurora to me was one of those wolves that didn't stick out. But I feel like because I played with the fact that she didn't stick out, y'all were intrigued. She was almost like a mystery wolf. Let's see this passive wolf become a leader. And unfortunately, she did not. Poor Aurora. She had such a hard life. I would almost say that she had a harder life than Aspen, because Aspen got himself into the trouble he was in to the point where he died. A lot of the things that happened to Aurora were very much undeserved, and it just was life beating on her. And sometimes that's the way it is. But no, please don't worry. Those pups are not gone in the wind. I'm not ever gonna like pick them up again. I promise I will pick them up. They will come back into our story. They will have their parts and their roles. In fact, a couple of them are going to be extremely important. Probably Steigander and Acer, the stories that I've written for both of them. They will probably have very important roles. Even if we don't play them behind the scenes story-wise for the books that I'm writing, they have big time roles. And so don't worry, those pups are still important. They're not going away. I've just decided that to kind of catch up on some things, we're going to go back and we're going to have another litter with Mikhail, especially since we know, as I said in the last one, we know that there was no true heir in his first litter. He's going to have a second litter. He doesn't know that his true heirs have failed him, essentially. He's just having a second litter because he can. Like I explained in the last one, it's like royalty. Your firstborn has rights to be your heir, but stuff happens, and sometimes your second and thirdborn needs to be heir to the throne. And so that's essentially what's happening right now. And so we're going to get to play Mikhail again, which I'm excited. Yay! But no, Dawn and Aurora's pups, they're fine. They're not going anywhere. Don't worry. They're still there. They're still saved. I'm still writing bios for them. I'm even thinking about going back and checking the bios that I wrote for the other sons of Mikhail, just to see if they would have dispersed or stuck around and if they will play any role into the future of this big, elaborate story that we are writing. I'm so excited. Anyways, I said in the last Wolf Talk that we were going to talk a little bit about Seraph because she played such an important role in Teo's life and she has such a deep story herself. I would actually love to write a book about Seraph because of her journey and her struggles in her life. And so in the last episode, I read her bio. I'll read it again as a refresher, and then I will delve deeper into what some of that means. Seraph, after being raised within one of the oldest surviving packs known amongst all living wolves, has been set on a quest to travel south and spread knowledge of the old ways that have been lost to newer, younger wolf packs. Socially, she does not feel ready for this task and fears her tales will fall on deaf ears and toothy maws, but she was chosen for this by the goddesses and therefore has little choice in the matter. Will she succeed in her endeavor or let life's distractions tame her? So Seraph herself actually struggled with a little bit of rage in her life. She was born into the northern packs as a pure white wolf, which was not typical in her pack. And so her parents, who were the breeding pair, saw her beautiful white coat and decided that that was a sign from Eartha that she was the one to travel south, something they were not brave enough to do themselves, and spread the word. They were looking for a sign of whether they should go or if they would be sent somebody who could go. And instead they birthed Seraph, the pure white wolf. And so when she reached of age, she had been trained that first 2 years, everything about the goddesses, mostly about Eartha. Eartha is their biggest teaching because Eartha is the goddess that created the Earthams, which is essentially giant wolves. And this goes to my book, Landon's Locket. It's a completely different book that has nothing to do with WolfQuest, but it does have giant wolves in it. And they were elementals created by the goddess Eartha as protectors of all life. They were guardians, essentially. They held the balance to life as well, to make sure no other elemental stepped out of place, to control populations between the prey. They were given a lot of tasks, but she trusted it unto them. And so that same teaching is essentially being taught to regular wolves. So even though it's a completely different book and a completely different story, I thought it would be really, really neat to bring that religion into our storyline. It's also helping motivate me to write my book, Landon's Locket. Fun fact, Locket is a half-breed between an Eartham and a Celestial. A Celestial is essentially a giant bird that looks very similar to a swan and a peacock. Probably like a swan and a peacock had a baby. And they were given to the goddess Celeste, who is the goddess of the sky, essentially, which is why they're birds. So Locket herself, she's a pure white wolf, but she has wings and her tail has feathers sprayed upon it. And so I haven't decided if I want the story of Locket to be told to the wolves. I feel like I'll just keep that in my book. But the fact that she was a pure white wolf and Seraph is a pure white wolf could play into it. I don't know. Maybe. Might be cool. But anyways, the goddess Eartha was the focus of Seraph's parents' teachings. So she got more of the Eartha part than anything. And for the story, I think that that's the most important, since Eartha was essentially she's the mother of all life, but they hold her dear because she created them especially. Seraph was not really a social wolf to begin with, but she was also isolated from her other siblings, from other wolves her age, because she was being taught this at a constant, which was probably a detriment to her. And her parents really shouldn't have done that, because her whole purpose is to teach these things to other wolves, and yet they did not socialize her enough. She didn't get that. She was extremely awkward, and it frustrated her when she would try and explain things to other wolves and they would just be like, "What are you talking about?" She didn't have those social skills. Even though she's beautiful and stunning, her charisma in the spoken word simply was not there. And she had to learn that on her own because her parents didn't teach her that, even though it was so important. She kind of became bold. She had to become bold as a wolf to be able to go up to another wolf out of the blue and just be like, "Hey, have you heard of Eartha the goddess?" You know. So she never struggled with that, but she ended up being kind of a loner because the rejection of it all and not having been socialized, she had a hard time. I think she, especially in her first year, really questioned if this was supposed to be her purpose. But she still held on to that purpose. Her love for the goddesses, especially the goddess Eartha, and the love for her parents, she couldn't just let this die. It was literally pushed onto her her entire life. And so she still wanted to try. And so she traveled all the way south to Yellowstone. She did her absolute best to try and spread the word through her journey there. And then she came across a very, very strange place. And this is where we jump into the special map in WolfQuest, Lost River. She found Lost River. And I actually played her in Lost River. I even have the save of her finding a mate there. But as you all know, you can't have puppies in Lost River, and you can't take your mate from Lost River. So I did not know that at the time. I thought you could still take your mate from Lost River to Slough Creek. You cannot. It is not possible. They may have changed that recently, but when I played her, it was not possible. So she gets there, and she meets Vander. And Vander is a deep, dark, pure black alpha wolf, or he's the first male. There are no alphas, so I say alpha wolf. But he was the leader of that pack, having recently lost his female. He was out looking for another female and came across Seraph. And Seraph, for story purposes, didn't at first teach the ways. She was quite smitten with him. He was very handsome and very powerful. And having been a leader of another pack, she was a little intimidated, but she also knew that this could possibly be a way, if she earned his trust, to spread the word to his pack. And so they talked, they spent time together, and she quickly fell deeply in love with Vander. True, true love. I think her motives in the beginning were quite selfish and maybe manipulative, but she fell in love with him, deeply in love. They spent a lot of time frolicking through the city together, hunting down elk, and that is actually why she brought Teo to Lost River, was because she knew it quite well. It was a special place for her. Well, when Vander did finally take Seraph to his pack, she still hadn't perfectly gotten the trick down of spreading the word. She still had that awkward, almost abrasive, like, you need to believe this attitude, as opposed to listen to what I have to say and see what you think. And if you like it, I can guide you. That's what she became later. But in the beginning, it was more like, you need to believe this. This is the right faith. You know? And nobody's going to listen to that. Nobody. And that's kind of what happened. His pack was a little like, what crazy did you bring in here kind of attitude. And Vander did step in, and he tried to do a little better at explaining it. And many of his pack members, once he explained it, were like, oh, okay, I'm willing to listen now, because he had better communication skills. And some of her communication skills were actually learned from Vander, because he helped her with that. He wasn't afraid to kind of stand up to her a little bit and say, you know, I believe in what you're saying, but not a lot of people will if you keep talking about it the way you're talking about it. But some of the wolves of Vander's pack were afraid. They didn't like this new wolf with this new word, with this new faith. They were afraid of it. Change is very scary. And with the way that Seraph was wording it, it sounded very pushy and forceful. That can turn a lot of people off. And since we're kind of pushing human-like features onto these wolves, I would imagine it would turn a lot of wolves off. They would be very violated in their own feelings by how she was pushing it onto them. And some of them were even aggressive about it, to the point where they told Vander they wouldn't accept her, period. And so Vander decided that for her safety and wanting to be with her, that they would go somewhere else where it was safer to have pups. Regardless of his pack and their attitude about her faith, he knew that Lost River was no place for puppies, just as it says in the game. It's not a safe place for pups. And so he was going to travel with her to Slough Creek. Because he was worried about her safety, he said, go ahead of me. I'll follow your scent. I'll meet you there, and I'll listen for your howls. That was the plan. That he would meet her in Amethyst Mountain on the way to Slough Creek. I actually don't know how the map lines up. I really don't. But that was the plan. They were going to go through Amethyst Mountain and then get to Slough Creek. And they were going to meet in Amethyst Mountain, do some hunting, stay there for a bit, and then go to Slough Creek in the wintertime. He never made it. And he never made it because when he went to tell his pack, the wolves that hated Seraph and were so afraid of the things that she had taught Vander, and some of them, they had worked very hard to turn some of the wolves who were indifferent against Vander. And they had ulterior motives. They wanted to lead the pack themselves. And since Vander was leaving anyway, they decided they would go ahead and just get rid of him. They didn't want him coming back. They didn't want to be under his essentially authority anymore. And he was also, at the time, trying to take some of his pack mates with him, because he figured that some of them actually liked the idea, and some of them did. Some of them absolutely did, but poison had already seeped into them from these other wolves that had evil ulterior motives, and so no one would join him And these dark, evil wolves who thought that they would lose some of the pack they were trying to take over would leave. They attacked Vander and they killed him. So Vander never made it to Amethyst Mountain. And Seraph was there. And she waited. And she waited. And she waited. And he never came. She never heard his howls. She never again caught his scent. And not until much, much later did she ever learn why. And so that was her first tragic heartbreak. She never really assumed that it was that he didn't love her. She did assume that he had died on the way. So it wasn't anything like that. But she felt that he was gone. And so, while she was in Amethyst Mountain, after grieving for several weeks, she decided she still wanted a family. Vander had talked her up into having puppies, having a family, and growing the faith in the way of teaching it to children. And so she still believed that that was something she wanted. So she went to look for another mate. And that is where she met Cricket. And Cricket was a very fun, loving, kind of bouncy boy in the beginning. He was definitely like the golden retriever kind of attitude of a mate. And in some ways, Seraph liked that because she was so serious and she was so heartbroken that his kind of happy overjoyness really helped her through the depression, through the loss of losing Vander. And she grew to love Cricket in a very strange way. I know this sounds extremely toxic, but she almost loved Cricket in the way of him being a pet. Like, she loved him very, very much, but you know, it was kind of a love based on he's helping me through this loss. But because Seraph was so destroyed over Vander, you could almost say that Cricket was a bit of a rebound. She was still desperate to have puppies. Her time was running out. And Cricket was giving her laughs and giving her comfort, and he was good at being there for her in the beginning, that she decided, I'm going to give him more of a try. And she does absolutely love Cricket, even now, currently in her story, because even though in Teo's line, she's already long gone, I have not finished her yet. So Cricket is still her mate currently at age 6. So then her and Cricket went on to have several litters. And I'll go ahead on this side and show you how many litters they had. And here we are. So when she was 3 years of age, I freaked out for a moment because I looked over and saw age 3 and I was like, what? No! It shows the age that the wolf was when they had the litter. So at age 3, her and Cricket had Eartha, Alistair, Sila. It's not Sia like it is in Spanish. It is actually Sila. Rosewood and Acorn. Are Rosewood and Acorn almost the same? No. Okay. So that was their very first litter together. And here's Cricket if you want to see him. He's super cute. He's a little bit dopey. I'm going to be honest. He's dopey. There's a lot to love about him. Unfortunately, it doesn't work in the end. I will go ahead and warn you, it does not work. But that's their first litter. They go on to have their second litter. At this point in the relationship, they're still pretty happy. They're enjoying each other's company. Seraph very much loves Cricket, even though she thinks he's a bit quirky and he doesn't take everything too seriously. She almost likes that, and it balances her out a little bit. But because of Cricket, because of him, she stopped focusing on her goal. It's not that Cricket did not care about the goddesses and the teachings. It's that he didn't take it seriously. He was an extreme distraction to her life purpose. So in the second litter, we had Bennett. I love the name Bennett. In my story, Landon's Locket, Landon has a very, very, very best friend named Bennett. And he's a riot for sure. I really hope I get to write that book for you guys. I genuinely think that you're going to enjoy it. She also had Theo, and a fun story about Theo. Theo thought eagles were really funny. And so hopefully at this point in the video, I will pop up a picture somewhere over here that one of our amazing members of the community, who I adore, Snow, actually drew a picture of Seraph and Theo because Theo tried to go flying with the eagle. It's one of my favorite fan art pictures, so hopefully it popped up on the side here because you guys, it's so great. You have to see it. All right, and then she also had Odin, Belladonna, Gideon, and then Gypsy and Celeste, who unfortunately did not make it. I think those were the only two actual pups that she lost, was Gypsy and Celeste, but she was extremely heartbroken after that. And that was the start of the break between Cricket and Seraph. It started there. She felt that he did not do enough to protect them. But still, they moved past that and they had a third litter. So in the third litter, Seraph had Cleo, Delaith, Rome, Dahlia, Serene, and Thaddeus, the little runt. Oh my goodness. I would love to play Thaddeus and finish the runt challenge. Ah, those stats though. So at this point, Seraph and Cricket have had a little bit of a detachment. Cricket has become a little more lazy in his older age. He's not putting in as much effort. And Seraph is starting to realize, I'm forgetting my whole purpose. This is the litter where she starts turning around and thinking, my time is running out to spread the word. I've been teaching these pups, but they haven't been taking it seriously because you haven't been taking it seriously. And she's becoming enraged. So this is where her rage starts. It gets really bad in this litter. And then there's the fourth litter, which was the one that I believe I did the highlights on. This is where Cricket literally did nothing. I think the entire series or stream that I did for that, I was yelling at Cricket. I literally just yelled at him that entire playthrough because he would not help. He didn't help fight wolves. He barely helped hunt. He ate food at the den. He was a nuisance. It was horrible. And so, since that was my experience with him in the game, I'm taking that and making it Seraph's experience in the story. He is becoming a lazy, complacent mate, and she is realizing he has been the biggest distraction from her life goals. Now, he's given her beautiful, beautiful children. She's had so many children, as you can see. Even in her fourth litter, when you're supposed to be having less and less children, she still had 6 puppies. And she kept them all alive, which is insane. So we had Leo Charis, we had Loki, we had Ohana, we had Moxie, we had Zaire, and we had Rain. All these beautiful, beautiful babies. But this is the point where Seraph's rage has now leaked out into Cricket, and she has laid into him, just yelling at him, do something, you're not doing enough. And even though, yes, it's true, everything she was saying is true, I'm sure in life y'all have known that if you get into an argument with somebody and you get out of control and you're screaming at them, even if you feel absolutely 100% justified in everything you're saying, no one will take you seriously if you're yelling. I've unfortunately had to learn that myself because I too struggle with my own rage. I still struggle with it today. It's something that I don't like about myself. Luckily, I've never blown up at hubby, but I have blown up many a time at my parents. It's not something I'm very proud of. 29 years of age, I still get really fussy with my dad, and my dad and I are very alike. So when we fight, it is a war. It is an all-out war. We never get physical, so don't worry. But we do get pretty nasty, like yelling at each other, and it's not good. I absolutely am not proud of that by any means. We had an argument just the other day, and we ended up hugging each other, and my dad was like, "Man, I'm so sorry," and I'm like, "Me too. I'm just stressed right now." But that's the cool thing, is that in the end of the day, we always get along. You know, our relationship and our love for each other is always more important than anything that seems important at the time that we're arguing about. And remember that in life, that love is more important than any stupid thing you're arguing about. Tangent, back to WolfQuest. But Seraph very much was like that. She was enraged and just yelling and pushing Cricket's buttons. You need to do more. You need to hunt more. I'm drowning and you're not helping me. And instead of stepping up, Cricket is going to leave. So when we start the new series with Seraph, she is going to be in Amethyst Mountain again at the age of 6 years old, looking for a new mate. And it's sad. It's sad that we've gotten to this point. And I think that in her journey, even though, yes, Cricket didn't step up and be the mate he should have been, she is going to still look within herself and realize, perhaps if I hadn't just yelled and tormented him with my anger and my frustration, if I had just talked to him, he may have done the same thing, but at least I wouldn't be so angry with myself. And so now at this point, while she's looking for a mate, she's trying to find her peace. It's not going to be easy. She's been angry for 2 litters now. So that's 2 years that she's been angry and enraged, getting worse and worse and worse and worse at Cricket. But now he is going to leave, and he's going to pin it on her because, unfortunately, that's what some people would do. And so for Cricket, he's going to say, I can't take this anymore. I can't take being yelled at anymore. I don't want to work this hard anymore. I just want to go off and live my best life. And maybe he even said, I don't want to be a dad. He might just be done. You know, how old is Cricket? He's 6'2". So he may just be done. He may not want to have any more pups, and she's not ready to stop the dream that her and Vander had, which, yes, is very toxic, unfortunately. But she wanted puppies. She wanted a family. She wanted to raise that family to spread the word. And so she's going to go out and keep trying by finding a new mate. Now, to essentially close this off, I will go ahead and spoil a few things for you. Regardless of the mate that she finds, and regardless of how many pups they have, Seraph refers to Teo as her last hope. Which means that through her story, and this could just be something she feels inside but is not necessarily true, she feels that none of her children have taken her life goal seriously, and that they are not going to succeed her in spreading the word of the old ways. Now, we may actually see that play out in story. It would be very sad to see Seraph lose pups. It would be very sad to see her struggle in her last few years, but it could happen. But either way, she felt that when she found Teo and taught him the ways and how much he grasped onto it, that he was her last hope. And so regardless of what miraculous mate we might find or how many amazing pups we may have, in her story, that is what she believes. I do think it would be fun at some point with the 3 paths that I have chosen between the war path, the neutral path, and the peace path, that perhaps some of Seraph's pups would come into some of this. I mean, you have to understand, her first litter probably would not have survived all the way to this point, actually, now that I'm thinking about it. Yeah, even her last litter wouldn't. But it would be interesting to have little side stories where maybe some of her pups did grasp onto the old ways and they had taught it. And so in Teo's teachings, perhaps some wolves would say, I actually already believe that. And I know what you are teaching, and learns of Seraph's children, maybe even in his lifetime. For backstory wise, he gets to meet some of Seraph's children, and in some ways gets to have a piece of her back by knowing them. And maybe they all join together. And hopefully, if that is the case, if that's what I decide to write into this story, that Seraph is looking down from where she is with the goddess Eartha and smiling, knowing that she did succeed. So that is the long, important story of Seraph. And so now you know where we're at when we pick up in Amethyst Mountain, that Cricket has left Seraph. She did not leave Cricket, he left her. So she will have to be looking for a new mate and making the journey to Slough Creek at age 6 with this new mate. I'm going to be very interested to see what kind of dispersals are out there, if there are dispersals that are your age, or if you have to be like a cougar a little bit there, Seraph, getting those youngins. Is that appropriate to say on YouTube? Probably not. Anyways, well, I hope y'all enjoyed listening to the story of Seraph, the white wolf that saved Teo and made Teo who he is today. I think Teo is the favorited wolf in all of our series right now. Y'all have shown so much love for Teo. It is unbelievable how much y'all love him. And he started with Kiba, but was raised by Seraph. She created what Teo is today, and even though he isn't all perfect, he has some stability thanks to her teachings, and his stories really started with her. Yes, he was born to Kiba, and that was wonderful, and the tragedy that happened with him being taken by the coyotes, it also molded Teo. Everything that Teo is now is because of that sequence of events that happened. But it's Seraph that truly lies in him right now. And now Sundance. I think that Seraph and Sundance would have gotten along, especially in Seraph's older years. She would have appreciated and loved Sundance's enthusiasm in learning the old ways and wanting to help Teo teach them. In fact, I think Seraph would be more than grateful for her. Too bad she is not here to see it. Well, y'all, I'm going to end it off here. We're over 40 minutes. I hope y'all liked this episode of Wolf Talk with Cupi. If you did, give the like button a tickle and a poke. Subscribe to join our family if you haven't already, and jingle the bell so you're notified of when I post Wolf Talks or any of our WolfQuest series on the channel. And please join Discord so you can talk with me about this every day, or follow me on Twitch or follow me on Twitch so you can watch me live. I play WolfQuest on Twitch all the time. So if you can't get enough WolfQuest on the channel, head over to Twitch. I usually do multiplayer games, and feel free to join me. I love playing with y'all. So all you gotta do is add me, and hopefully you'll get to play with me one day. All right, I love you guys. Thanks again for watching, and I will see you next time for another Wolf Talk when it happens. Love you. Bye.